You ever feel like the guy who shows up for everyone, but disappears the second the fun starts? That was me. Jonah, 26, retail manager, Columbus, Ohio. Middle kid. No drama, no mess, no spotlight. Just the guy who always had jumper cables, kept track of birthday gifts, and never said no when mom needed help with groceries or a ride to the pharmacy. I worked at an electronics store on the north side, full-time. Came home tired, always. But I'd still drive across town to help mom wrangle the younger kids or pick up dry cleaning for my dad, stepdad, technically, but he never called me son anyway. Just Jonah, can you? My friends at work used to ask why I never went out with them on weekends. They called me the responsible one. I just smiled and said I liked being there for my family. But truth? I said no to myself so many times I forgot what yes even felt like. One night, I skipped a manager's dinner. Could have meant a promotion, but I told them I had other obligations. The truth? I had to pick up my little brother from soccer and get groceries for mom. She forgot to Venmo me, but I paid anyway. $72.54. I told myself it didn't matter. They'd do the same for me, right? That's why I planned the game night. I thought, no, I believed, this could be a reset. I bought a new game with my employee discount, something strategy-based, team style. Cleaned the apartment top to bottom. Vacuumed, Febrezed the couch cushions, even printed out easy-to-follow instructions with highlighted sections for new players. Spent $40 on snacks, even got the drinks everyone liked. Lemon lime sodas for my sister. Root beer for my brother. Sparkling water for my mom. I hadn't hosted anything in over a year. I was nervous, but I kept thinking, they'll see me. Not as the helper, the driver, the errand boy, but as someone worth showing up for. The doorbell rang a little past 6. They were late, but I let it slide. It was family, after all. My mom kissed my cheek, distracted. My cousins rolled in, already talking about their fantasy football league. My brother carried in a speaker and asked if he could connect to Bluetooth. No one mentioned the setup, the game on the table, the snacks, the playlist I spent 2 hours curating. But I still smiled. Hey, glad you made it. I kept looking for a sign, somebody to say, wow, Jonah, this is awesome. Nothing. Still, I kept hope alive. We all sat around, snacking and catching up. I passed around the game boxes. I figured we could try something new tonight. It's co-op, so we'll be on teams. I printed. My brother cut in. Nah, no one's reading all that, man. We'll just make up our own version. Faster that way. I blinked. It's not that complicated. I just thought. My cousin snorted. Bro, it's not that deep. We're just trying to have fun. They reshuffled the rules. Took out entire sections. Changed team roles. And when it was time to start, there weren't enough spots. My brother looked around. Jonah, you good just watching this one? We'll rotate next round. Except they never rotated. And I knew. This wasn't about speed or fun. This was something else. And that's when it hit me. I planned the night. I bought the game, and somehow, I wasn't even invited to play. That's when everything started to crack. I sat there on the armrest, trying to act unbothered, holding an unopened can of root beer like it meant something. Watching them play my game, badly, I might add, using house rules that made no sense. Someone declared themselves game master, whatever that meant. They passed turns out of order, skipped strategy, and somehow my cousin Janice ended up with 3 roles while I had none. I glanced at the laminated rule sheet still sitting neatly on the edge of the table. No one touched it. No one even glanced at it. They laughed loud, shouting over each other, throwing chips at each other like it was some chaotic family sitcom. But I wasn't laughing. I wasn't in the scene. I wasn't even a background character. I was crew. Staff. The guy who set the table and faded into the drywall. Every time I leaned forward like maybe I'd be rotated in, my brother would say something like, next round, bro, I promise. Or, you're better at explaining than playing anyway. Then the moment that burned itself into my brain forever, my stepdad, never the emotional type, raised his red plastic cup and said, props to everyone tonight, this was fun. Good vibes. Real family energy. And then he added, especially you, Malik, for making it fun. Malik, my brother, the one who hijacked the game, rewrote the rules, and kicked me off my own team. He got the credit, the glory. I got the crumbs. That word, real family energy, stung worse than anything. Because what was I? Just the guy who cleaned the toilet an hour before they arrived? Suddenly I wasn't just mad, I was panicking. I excused myself, said I needed to check the oven, though I hadn't turned it on. I stepped into the kitchen and gripped the counter. My hands shook. I felt hot. Not angry hot, panicked hot. Like my skin didn't belong to me. I opened the junk drawer, looking for anything, scissors, a paper towel, something to focus my hands. Instead, I found a folded piece of paper. The old game rotation schedule I'd printed earlier, color-coded, laminated. I stared at it for a full minute. My name appeared twice. Everyone else. 3 times each. Even in planning, I hadn't prioritized myself. That's when I started replaying everything. The times I bailed my brother out of a Lyft cancellation by picking him up at 1 a.m. The $87 I sent my cousin when she overdrafted her account. No questions asked. The hours I spent babysitting so my mom could rest. And they couldn't even give me a fake round in a stupid board game? The tension in my chest became a weight. I started pacing. One of my younger cousins peeked in. Are there more cookies? I nodded silently and pointed at the pantry. They walked right past me like I was a coat rack. It felt like a test, one I'd been taking for years without knowing. They all expected me to stay calm, quiet, predictable. They expected me to keep serving while they kept playing. And maybe I was done with that. I turned off the living room lights from the kitchen switch. The room went dim. Hey, Malik called. Yo, Jonah, what the hell, bro? I leaned around the corner, just checking the bulbs. That was the first lie. The second came 10 minutes later, when I told them I had a headache and was calling it early. They offered to stay, but not really. Everyone started packing up with fake concern, like they were forced out of paradise because the butler got tired. Next time, let me bring the game, Malik said, slapping my back. Next time, I replied. But I already knew there wouldn't be one. They left, didn't even take the trash out. I stood alone in the living room, staring at the half-eaten pretzels and the scattered cards. And that's when I realized the worst betrayal wasn't that they left me out. It was that I let them. For years, I was the glue, the planner, the helper. But tonight, I became invisible. And something in me, something quiet but furious, decided. That was the last night I played by anyone else's rules. The next morning, my phone buzzed at 7:13 a.m. I was still lying on the couch, curled under a blanket, the board game box still sitting open on the floor, half-packed. I hadn't slept much. I blinked at the screen. 37 unread messages in the family group chat. Game night was a hit. Malik's rules were fire. Jonah's place is so cozy. We should host there again. Cozy. Fire. Cute little emojis. Like nothing happened. Like I wasn't erased in plain sight. Then came the cherry on top. Let's do a holiday edition. Yes. Malik, you in charge again? Jonah, you still down to host? They didn't even ask. They just expected it. As if I wasn't a person, just a service. A location. A default setting on their little family app. I stared at the phone. Thumb hovered. Heart pounding. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I left the group chat. Just like that. 3 dots popped up instantly. My brother Malik messaged me separately. Yo? Did you just leave the chat? LOL. You good? You mad about last night? Bro, come on, it was just jokes. No apology. No sorry for excluding you. Just disbelief that I broke routine. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my notes app and typed a single sentence. Being useful isn't the same as being loved. Then I sat in silence. I stared at that sentence like it was a mirror I'd been afraid to look into for 26 years. Because that was the truth, wasn't it? My family used me. Not maliciously, not cartoon villain style. But in that quiet, everyday way that chips away at you over time. Death by 1,000 expectations. And I kept giving. My time, my home, my energy. Because I thought that's what made me valuable. I thought if I stopped giving, I'd be nothing. Now I was finally about to test that theory. By noon, Malik had posted a meme on Instagram, one of those shady quote ones. It said, "Some people play the victim when they can't be the center of attention." No tag, no name, just vibes. But the comments? LMYOLO, I know exactly who you mean. Tell him to grow up. You were the real MVP last night, FR. I wanted to scream, or drive over and confront him. But instead, I screenshot it and added it to a folder on my phone called Evidence of Disrespect. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but keeping receipts felt powerful. Later that afternoon, I got a text from my cousin Lex. "You okay?" I replied, "I'm good. Just tired of being left out of things I planned." She left me on read. No one else checked in. Not even my mom. By dinner, I was pacing again. The silence from them was louder than their fake cheers the night before. So I opened a group chat of my own. Not with family, but with a few co-workers from the retail store. We'd always talked about doing something together after shifts, but never had a place. I typed, thinking about starting monthly board game nights at my place. Chill crowd. Snacks. Real rules. Anyone down? Within minutes. Yes. I've been dying to play again. Jonah, you just became my favorite person, LOL. That's when it hit me. The thrill wasn't just about cutting my family off. It was about finally choosing myself. Choosing people who saw me. A couple days passed. Then, something unexpected happened. My mom called me, first time in a week. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was strained. "Hey, sweetie. Just checking in. Haven't heard from you. We're worried. Malik said you got upset over the game night. You know he was just being playful. We didn't mean anything by it. Let's not make this into drama, okay? Love you. Call me." No apology. No ownership. Just more gaslight gloss. And then, an email. From the local rec center. Subject line, "We'd love to collaborate." Turns out one of my co-workers had forwarded my game night message to someone at the center. They were looking for volunteers to host game nights for young adults in the area. They said I sounded like someone who knew how to create community. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just walking away from my family's table. I was building a better one. And soon, the people who once rewrote the rules to keep me out would be watching me lead the next game. The first board game night at my apartment with coworkers didn't go how I expected. It went better. 6 people showed up. One brought homemade cookies. Another brought a card game I'd never even heard of. Everyone introduced themselves, offered to help set up, and when we started playing, they followed the rules. No shortcuts. No reshuffling. No backhanded, "It's just a game" jabs. When I explained the turns, people actually listened. It was quiet for a second when someone lost early in the first round, and then she laughed and said, "Can I still watch the next one?" Nobody kicked her out. Nobody rewrote her out. I almost cried right then. It was small, but it was everything. We played until 11:47 p.m. People stayed after to clean up. One of the guys, Eric, looked at me and said, "You ever think about doing this for real? Like, starting a meetup group or something?" I smiled. "I already have a name for it," I said. Fair Play Nights. 2 days later, I got a Venmo request from my cousin Simone. $38. Note, for wings, soda, and Lyft ride to your place. I stared at it. Laughed. Declined it. She messaged me. "Wow. Petty much." I didn't respond. Then Malik sent a group text. This one not to the family chat. Just to me, Simone, and 2 others. "Yo, so mom said we should talk this out before the holidays get awkward. Jonah, you still mad over game night? Or is this about something else?" That phrase again. Still mad. Like it was a mood swing. A random tantrum. I typed, "I'm not mad. I'm just done." Malik replied, "Bro, it's not that serious. We thought you didn't mind. You're always chill." And there it was, the real misunderstanding. They thought my silence meant comfort. That my peacekeeping meant peace. But what it really meant, I'd been holding my breath for years. Every favor. Every "sure, I'll host." Every errand. Every time I vacuumed while they lounged. Every time I let them take up space because I didn't want to be difficult. That was ending now. The next Fair Play night grew. 12 people RSVP'd. A girl named Tasha brought her boyfriend. He worked for a local nonprofit, and by the end of the night, we were brainstorming ways to bring games into youth centers. The rec center emailed again, offering a stipend to run 3 Friday events. I was finally being seen. And that's when it happened. My mom showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. It was a Saturday morning. I'd just come back from buying snacks for the next night. I was holding 2 bags when I saw her at the door, dressed like she was going to church, holding a Tupperware of baked mac and cheese. I opened the door. She didn't wait for me to invite her in. She stepped inside, looked around, and said, "Looks nice. Cleaner than I expected." I blinked. "What are you doing here?" She gave me that tight smile. "Thought maybe we could talk." I stayed standing. "Talk about what?" She sat on the edge of my couch like she owned it. "Malik told me you've been acting distant," she said. "And I saw that little meetup thing you posted on Facebook. You're doing all this for strangers now." I stared at her. She continued. You always liked games. I thought that was just a hobby. Didn't realize you were turning your back on your family over a misunderstanding. I said nothing. Just waited. That's when she sighed and added, I brought your favorite. Mac and cheese, just like Grandma used to make. Can we just move past all this? I looked at the food. Looked at her. Then I walked to the door. Opened it. You didn't come here to apologize, I said. You came to reclaim. She frowned. What does that mean? It means, I said slowly, you didn't come to ask how I felt. You came to make yourself feel better. She blinked. You're being dramatic. I smiled. Maybe, but at least I'm not being invisible. She stood. Set the Tupperware on my table. You'll come around, she said on her way out. But I wouldn't. Not this time. As she walked down the hallway, I saw something in her step, hesitation. Like for the first time, she felt excluded. It wasn't revenge. It was relief. I wasn't the helper anymore. I was the host of my own life. And the rules were mine now. The Monday after my mom's surprise visit, I woke up to silence, and then it began. Not one, not two, but 5 missed calls from Malik, 3 texts from Simone, and a voice note from Aunt Tracy that just said, call me. We need to talk about how you're embarrassing the family. I didn't listen to it. By 3 p.m., my phone started vibrating so hard I thought it might overheat. The family group chat, which I'd muted for weeks, was suddenly active. First message. Malik, Jonah, you're being disrespectful and divisive. You're not better than us just because you hang out with some strangers now. Then came Cousin Darius. He always thought he was too good. All those books he reads. Now he thinks he's Oprah or something. Then Simone. LMAO. Watch Jonah start a TED talk about board games and trauma. What stunned me wasn't that they were mocking me. It was that they thought this would bring me back. That shame still had power over me. It didn't. That night, I deleted myself from the family group chat. No dramatic exit. Just left. But what I didn't expect was what they did next. By Thursday, Malik had posted a public status on Facebook. Crazy how people can host a game night, then act brand new like they've never been carried their whole life. Don't forget who drove you to college tours, bro. The comments flooded in, most from family. A few old friends. One said, that's wild. Jonah always seemed quiet but cool. Didn't know he had a fake side. Another, guessed that mac and cheese wasn't good enough for him anymore. I stared at it, hands shaking, face flushed. For a second, I almost responded. I typed out something about manipulation, about being used, about emotional labor and how helping turned into expectation. But I didn't send it, because deep down, I knew something better was coming. The next Fair Play event? 36 RSVPs. We had to move it to the community rec center's gym. I showed up early, nervous, sweating through my hoodie. But then they came, people of all ages. Families, teachers, college students. Tasha's boyfriend brought a local news intern who wanted to write a feel-good piece about neighborhood healing. We set up folding tables, laid out card games and snacks. I made sure everyone had a name tag. And then something happened that nearly knocked me over. A 12-year-old boy approached, holding a box of Uno. He looked up at me and said, I don't really like crowds, but I like games. Is it okay if I just play one-on-one? I nodded. Absolutely. Want me to play with you? He smiled. A real one. Yeah. We sat in a quiet corner and played 2 rounds. He beat me both times. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't in months. Belonging. The story didn't end there, though. That Sunday, I got a letter. Not a text. Not a DM. A real, physical envelope in my mailbox with handwriting I hadn't seen in years. It was from Grandma. I opened it slowly, hands trembling, and found a single note card. On the front, she'd written in faded pen, don't waste your light trying to warm people who like the cold. And on the back, you were always meant to lead the table, not beg for a seat. I froze. I didn't even remember when she gave me this. Maybe I was 13, maybe younger. But somehow, the universe had kept this message sealed until now. The timing was eerie, because just as I finished reading it, my phone buzzed again. A private message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot from another group chat. This one was called Family Real Ones, and it was from Malik. Jonah thinks he's famous now. Let him stay with his Lil Card Club. He'll come crawling back when he needs real love. Another message from Simone. We should just block him. Let him sit in his cute little Game of Thrones kingdom. LOL. That's when I realized they hadn't just left me out of a board game. They'd left me out of the family. And maybe, just maybe, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because now, I was rewriting the rules. And this time, nobody was gonna erase me again. I didn't cry. Not when I saw those screenshots. Not even when I read the line from Simone calling my new friends a cute little Game of Thrones kingdom. I didn't scream, or text back, or defend myself. Instead, I went for a walk. It was 9:42 p.m. on a Sunday. Freezing cold. I didn't even grab a hoodie. I just walked out the door and kept going. Down High Street. Past the 24-hour diner I used to go to with Malik when we were tight. Past the Walgreens where I bought snacks for that cursed game night. And I kept walking until I reached a bench behind the library. I sat. Let the cold sink in. That's when I remembered something. During a family reunion when I was 15, I taught everyone how to play Settlers of Catan. It took 3 hours. I read the instructions out loud. Used post-it notes to label resource tiles. Made extra copies of the rule book. I thought they'd love it. But Malik got bored and quit mid-game. Simone spent the whole time on her phone. And Uncle Reggie called it a nerd convention. I laughed too hard at the time, pretending I didn't care. But I remember the feeling in my chest back then. It was the same one I felt now, tight, but hollow. The next week, things took a turn. On Tuesday morning, I walked into work and my manager, Elena, waved me over. "Hey Jonah," she said. "Got a weird one for you." She handed me a flyer. Family Night, Fair Play Games, hosted by Jonah Carter. My name. On paper. I froze. "What is this?" Elena laughed. "We got a call from the West Side Charter School. Apparently one of their teachers saw your event at the rec center and wants to partner. They've got a parent night coming up and want you to run the game tables." I blinked. "Wait, they want me to run the whole thing?" "Yep. You'd be the head facilitator. They'll pay you, too." That night, as I was prepping which games I'd bring, I got another message. This time from someone I didn't expect. "Simone, can we talk?" Just that. No emojis. No venom. Just a plain message. My stomach twisted. I typed out, "What for?" She replied instantly. "I messed up. You didn't deserve that. Any of it." Then, "Can I come by?" I didn't answer. Instead, I scrolled through my phone, found the event invite from the charter school, and opened the email thread. But I couldn't focus. My hand hovered over the message. I kept reading Simone's texts. Over and over. Then came the third one. "Malik said he's gonna come to your next game night. To fix things. Just wanted to warn you." Fix things? What did that mean? I didn't like it. So I changed the address for the next Fair Play session. Told only confirmed attendees. We moved it to a small cafe on the north end with a private backroom. No flyers. No posts. Just quiet planning. Because if Malik wanted to show up to start something, I wasn't gonna give him the space. But despite the secrecy, drama found me anyway. 2 nights later, I got tagged in a Facebook post from someone I didn't know. A video. The caption read, "Why is this dude acting like he invented Uno?" I clicked it. It was me, talking during the community event. Someone had filmed a clip without my permission. It showed me explaining rules and hyping up players. The crowd cheering. The kid who beat me at Uno. Then it cut to a voice, Malik's voice. "Bro really think he's the king of GameStop." Laughter. Simone's voice chiming in. "Look at him. He dressed like he works at Barnes and Noble." The video got 1,300 views in one night. People commented stuff like, "Why they clowning him? Dude's just doing something positive. At least he ain't in jail like half the dudes laughing. Let him live." This energy is weird. For once, I wasn't the one who looked petty. It was them. And I realized this was bigger than just me. So I took the video, downloaded it. Then I made a response. Short, raw, and real. I posted a clip on TikTok, just 45 seconds long. I said, "My name's Jonah. I host game nights for people who got left out too many times. If you've ever been mocked by your own family, you know how deep that cut runs. But I'm not hiding anymore. If you want a seat at the table, you've got one. No one gets benched here." I posted it with the caption, "They changed the rules to leave me out, so I made my own table." It got 12K views in a day, then 50K. People started sharing their own stories in the comments. One girl wrote, "I cried reading this. My brother used to do this to me. Thank you." Another, This reminds me of why I stopped going home for holidays. I thought I was the only one. That Friday, I opened my door to find a package on the mat. No return label. Inside, a box of Uno, a photo of me and Grandma, framed, and a sticky note. It said, "Your grandma would be proud. Aunt Denise." I hadn't spoken to Aunt Denise in nearly 5 years. I texted her. "Thank you." She wrote back, "Don't let them shame you into shrinking. You're not wrong for wanting fairness." I smiled, held the frame to my chest. Because the real game? It wasn't about cards. It was about choosing not to play their version anymore. And next week, someone unexpected was about to show up at one of my new events. Someone who'd change everything, again. The next week felt like a calm before something. The rec center reached out again. They wanted to expand our event. Bigger space. More tables. Even hinted at getting a small grant to fund monthly fair play nights. I should have been celebrating, but something tugged at me. Like when a game's too quiet and you know someone's hoarding all the wild cards. Then came the message from a burner account on Instagram. "Don't forget where you came from, Game Boy." No profile pic. No followers. No other posts. I stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. Then blocked the account. I didn't have time for petty games. I was building something real. But then, things escalated. Friday, 6:48 p.m. The event had already started at the rec center. We had kids at 5 tables, college students running the classics, checkers, Clue, Uno. I was at the back setting up a new strategy game when a volunteer tugged my arm. Jonah, there's someone at the front desk asking for you." I froze. "Who?" "I don't know. Some dude in a denim jacket. Says he's your brother." My stomach dropped. I walked to the front. There he was. Malik, looking out of place, like he hated being there, but had something to prove. He didn't smile. Didn't even fake it. "Yo," he said. "Why are you here?" I asked, arms crossed. "I saw your little TikTok." He chuckled. "You really out here doing board games?" I didn't answer. Then he held something out. A box. It was our old Monopoly game. The same one we used to play at Grandma's house when we were kids. The one we stopped playing when he flipped the board after losing to me. He set it down on the counter. Figured we could play. One last time. I stared at it. Was this a peace offering? A trap? A guilt move? I told him, "This isn't about nostalgia. I'm not building this to relive something you ruined." Malik scoffed. Then he said something that cracked my foundation. "She left you the rest, you know." I blinked. "What?" "Grandma. Her will. She left a second letter for you. I found it when I was helping Mom clean out the attic 2 years ago." My breath caught. "You never told me. You weren't supposed to have it." But I didn't read it. Just kept it. I felt heat rising in my chest. "Where is it?" He pulled a folded envelope from his jacket. Handed it over. "I guess I thought if I gave you that, you'd think I was trying." I didn't say anything. I just took it, walked to the side hall, and opened it with shaking hands. Inside, in Grandma's handwriting. "Jonah, if you're reading this, it means the rest of them pushed you out, like I feared they would. That's not your fault. You love quiet. You love peace. But they mistake that for weakness. You're not weak, baby. You're a bridge, and they've walked all over you. But bridges can break. And when you do, I hope you build something that makes them wish they'd stayed on your side. Love you forever. Grandma." I read it 3 times. Cried quietly. Then walked back out. Malik was gone. The Monopoly box was still on the counter. But something in me felt finished. That weekend, I got invited to speak at a youth mentorship conference. The session? Rewriting the rules. How community heals where family can't. When I stood on stage, I started with Grandma's words. And when I ended, I looked into the crowd and said, "If your own people keep leaving you out, build a table so wide they gotta come correct, or not at all." Standing ovation. Months later, I hosted a holiday game night, open to the public. One by one, familiar faces walked in. Elena, Javi, even Aunt Denise. And then, Simone. She didn't speak, just joined a table and played fair. At the end of the night, she left something behind on the table. It was a note. It read, "We didn't deserve you. I hope they do." I folded it, tucked it away, and turned out the lights. Because this time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to deal me in. The game was mine now.